Well, hello and welcome back to another Inky channel. My name's Kieron Seamons, and this is my Inky world where we do lots of drawings every day and chat and have a little bit of messy fun. I've had a few requests about doing different drawings, a leopard and some more of the cats, please, and certain things. But I'm just in the mood to throw down some ink and see where it takes me. Okay. I do find it very relaxing just to have a white piece of paper. There is no plan, there is no pre-drawing, there is no sketch. It's just putting down a splash of ink and letting your mind relax. And it's a very relaxing way for me to draw. And it takes away from all the stress of illustrations and everything else. So if we draw a cat today, if we draw a leopard today, if we draw a giraffe on stilts, it'll be whatever we draw. So if you're in the mood for some inky drawings, let's do some. Well, welcome back to a nice hot chocolate, just to start everything off. Absolutely lovely. Right. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Kieron Seamons, and I have been working in animation for about 30 years. I have worked on many of the great movies. I've done Lilo and Stitch. I've done Roger Rabbit, the Moomins. I've done Horrid Henry and the Cramp twins and Dennis and Menace and lots 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 of stuff. So when I come to this, it's kind of like a nice release. I've been making children's books and such. Also, I make my own children's stories, and I'm going to put down some ink there. And what it does is it just breaks up that horrible white paper and gives me some kickstart. It gives me an idea of starting something, and I don't know why, but it does really kind of like start me off in a beautiful way. And usually the first couple of minutes, oh, there's something under there. The first couple of minutes are me just kind of like putting down a few kind of feelers. I let my brain just do what it wants to do, and it just kind of will run ahead and it will start to draw. Now, as I said, I've worked in animation most of my life, from the age of about 17, when I worked on Roger Rabbit as one of my first films. And it was a very, very, very impressive and very memorable start to my life. It was one of those beginnings that could never have been better. I did start off, obviously, being 17, I wasn't like one of the best artists in there. I was basically painting to begin with, and I started off very, very small. But I remember one of the very first. Oh, okay, so let's draw some kind of rabbit then, since we've started off talking about it. I guess that could be a rabbit's nose, couldn't it? Now I see that splash there. Although the splash, there's nothing wrong with the splash. I do see my jacket is going to dip into it in a minute, so I'm going to save my jacket. I remember the first few days being taken into a room, and there must have been about 20 people, I think, maybe a little bit more. And they ran a tape. They ran a video that was the kind of test, the test tape for what was to be Roger Rabbit. Now you have to remember, at this I'm about 17 years old at this point, so you know it was really quite an incredible feeling, even just to be in that room with all of these incredible people. You know, I'm going to give him a little bit of a wonky eye here too. And they played this tape, this videotape of a beginning of a cartoon. It was an alleyway, and I remember this, something had come falling down some metal stairs and come staggering through all the bins, and it was this rabbit, and it had red trousers on, and it interacted with, obviously at that time I didn't really know who Bob Hoskins was, but it was this man, and it interacted with this man, and I think everybody in that room went into shock. It was the film of a realistic cartoon rabbit. It was as real as the man standing next to it. And it stumbled about, and the shadows were perfect, and I kind of remember there was an kind of sound from everybody, like a wow type of sound from everybody in the room. And I think everybody was just blown away. This realistic creature, this realistic rabbit with long ears, stumbling about in the light and the shadow, and wow, my God. I left the room. When it had finished, everybody kind of gave a small round of applause, and I left the room in shock. I was like, you know, I could kind of, people were like, what did we just see? What was that? What, you know, we were all in terrible shock. What had we just seen? So we are going to draw a rabbit. I don't. My brain has taken over, and we're going to draw some form of a rabbit or a hare. And the point of that was that obviously they had been working on new techniques, and this young boy was going to be in the middle of it. You know, I had been thrown into this this feature film that would go on forever. I mean, it would be a would go on to be one of the most memorable movies for many people for many years. And obviously I'm going to draw a rabbit here that is going to be nothing like Roger Rabbit. It's going to be a comical version of a rabbit and nothing more. Just so that I don't get any comments. Maybe it's like Roger Rabbit when he's like 50 or something, you know. I don't know. So anyway, the beauty of it was that became a huge part of my life for the next couple of years. It was an incredible part of my growing up. You have to remember that when I joined Roger Rabbit, I was just turned 17, and I was a boy with dreams the size of a tree. I was a huge dreamer, and for me to be a part of this incredible feature film was living a dream. It was really quite incredible. Not too bad. And I spent the next couple of years living and working in that Disney studios. And I met some wonderful people. And I also was introduced to a form of artist that I still respect to this day. I still respect the traditional animator. I'm not so much about the digital ones because I don't really understand too much of the digital side of animation. It all seems to be mostly kind of done for you in ways, but the traditional animator was somebody who was a person that could draw a character from any position doing anything and make it look so lifelike. Just checking my camera is still moving. Indeed it is. And it was probably the biggest impact to my life. Now, as a child, I remember my father bringing back, I think it was like some kind of Super 8 movies, with the discussion of animation being a series of images. A series of images to make a movie. So each animation image was a drawing. So thousands of drawings would make a cartoon. Wow. Well, that shocked me. That completely threw me for a loop. You know, just give him a big bunny tail. And so I was kind of bought and given this this collection of Super 8 film, and I had this kind of moviola, I think it's called a moviola, where you kind of put the two reels of thing in and then you can wind it through slowly and you can see each image. And there were some things like Charlie Chaplin and Laurel and Hardy and Buster Keaton and all these old names, but you could watch Charlie Chaplin come walking in and just fall over, and then kind of stand up and then walk backwards and then walk forward, and you could just run it back and forth, and you could see all the images. And that was the absolute beginning of my obsession with animation. And which brought me to the doors of the Disney studios in later years. And now another small fact that many people don't actually know was that as a child in Ireland, my father got the possibility to actually work for the Disney studios. Around the time of the 101 Dalmatians, my father had got the possibility to go to LA and to be a part of the crew for 101 Dalmatians. Now, at the time, my dad was going through a divorce, and I think the whole idea of moving family and life and everything, I don't know, maybe it became too much. Maybe it was all a ridiculous idea. I don't know. My mum left my dad, and the letters for the 101 Dalmatians job were left behind. Now, I still have some of those letters. They've got big gold letters saying Walt Disney Animation Studios, Florida, and all that type of jazz. So it was kind of like fulfilling my dad's dream as well by me getting this job. And what an incredible experience it was. Right, so I'm kind of gonna make it into a kind of a version of an older Roger Rabbit, just for entertainment's sake. So there you go. There's some very interesting parts of my life, and I spent the next couple of years working on Roger Rabbit. And the nice thing about Roger Rabbit, as a kind of fanboy as I was at the time, I was a huge Disney fan. I was I knew all the artists like Milt Kahl and Ollie Johnson, Frank Thomas. I knew all the great animators in the studio at the time. Although they weren't working in that studio, they were obviously. But the fun part about it was that you were surrounded by the new generation of incredible, so that the new generation of great animators. I mean, you know, anybody that's got a Disney tag on their resume, in, you know, especially from the old traditional days, to my mind is an incredible artist. And in most cases they were. And I joined up later on, and I got invitations to work on other feature films, being Fievel Goes West and the big dinosaur movie. And that kind of put me in good stead for many years. I didn't know I was going to draw a Roger Rabbit replacement, so forgive me for it not actually looking like him. I've actually deliberately added teeth and a bit of a goofy expression so that it doesn't really look like him, but we'll call it Roger Rabbit's brother. How's that? and I met amazing people. I met so many fantastic people over the years of going on to work for Amblin Entertainment and such, which led me to an amazing career. I mean, it led me up into working on a lot of TV cartoons that I was also very, 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 very passionate about. Characters like Dennis the Menace and the Moomins and the Cramp twins, and such great chances to work in these movies. And it really was a dream life for me. It was everything that I'd dreamed of, everything that I'd wanted in my life. So I couldn't have anything better, to be honest. The years of, I mean, it obviously led to me setting up my own animation studio, which we had for years, which was called Sandman Animation Studio. We had about 250 artists all drawing away and being amazing. And there's nothing better than walking past artists, animation artists, when they're kind of they're rolling paper between their fingers. There's like this kind of piece of paper between each, and they roll back and forward, and they roll them back and forward, and they're rolling them back and forward. To see the movement. Now, there's a few people online at the moment that are still kind of showing their skills. Aaron Blaze is one who's obviously doing some fabulous stuff online. I don't actually know Aaron, but I have seen his videos, and he goes through some of the traditional route. And he's done some beautiful work there. It's very nice to be able to see some of the traditional people still being very, very popular. And I think he's also moved into the digital realm, which is obviously very, very nice. It's good to see people doing that. So I set up my animation studio for many, many, many years, and we had the luxury of working on things like Lilo and Stitch and such cartoons, and so many cartoons that most people don't ever get to see. It's like I worked on one called Treasure, was for a Canadian company, and it was about this teenage girl called Treasure. If you ever see it, go and watch it. What an incredible TV cartoon that was. And I worked on Paddington, the later 2D version of Paddington, which wasn't very pretty, to be honest. I never was keen on the versions of Paddington. I don't quite know why. I loved the original bear with the marmalade sandwiches under his hat. Which was lovely, absolutely beautiful. The later ones, I was never really sure. Even with the Paddington movie, I was never really quite sure of how kind of modernized he became. I didn't really enjoy that. But we worked on Lilo and Stitch, which was lovely. And so many other shows that came through. Obviously, Horrid Henry was the big UK show which we did. In fact, I worked on every single episode of Horrid Henry. There you go. There's a tidbit for you. And it was huge there for many years. There was also Noah's Island. I don't know how many of you remember Noah's Island, with all the animals that live on this island. And that was a very difficult show to draw. You know, I'd have to draw mammoths, and I'd have to animate polar bears and gorillas and orangutans, and that was a real tough show to draw. And the animators really struggled with it as well. Right, so we won't call him Roger, we'll call him Bobby, okay? It's Roger Rabbit's brother, okay? There we are. And it, you know, my career has been a absolute dream. It has been working on kids' books and working on kids' animation and working on feature films. About 15 feature films I've actually worked on, and so I've had a quite a fantastic life, to be honest. And it's always nice to be able to say, I worked on Roger Rabbit, or I worked on the Moomins, or whatever, because there's so many shows that I worked on, Treasure being one of them. I loved working on Treasure. I absolutely loved it. I could have done 1,000,000 episodes of Treasure. It was so beautifully written. I think it was written by a British person, if I remember. If anybody knows who wrote those scripts, I used to get in those days. You used to get the tapes early. You used to get the audio tape, and I used to put them in these kind of cassette tapes, and I put them in my player, and I'd sit there and I'd listen to what's happening in the story while I'm going through the storyboards and everything, you know. And it was just always shocked me. It always shocked me how well written a lot of these the Treasure episodes were. They were so beautifully written, and you would literally be sitting there and you'd be laughing your head off at just the words of it. So the cartoon show was just incredible. I remember the old lady was always kind of a complaining voice. She was always kind of like, you know, it's enough to drive you to drink around here, and all you get is tea and stuff, you know. And it was obviously a lot funnier than what I've just done, but beautifully written, great voices as well, you know. So there is our. It's not. It kind of looks like a brother of Roger Rabbit. There you go. Roger Rabbit's brother. That's probably a fair way of explaining it. It wasn't meant to be him anyway. It was just a drawing of for the day. But it got me to talk about the old days. And beautiful old days they were, and some beautiful people. In fact, I've been very lucky through my life of all the wonderful people that I've met. And still, even to this day, I still sometimes... In fact, I got one from a guy who's now living in... is it Panama or something like that? Jeff Farab. And he kind of sent me a message just to say, hey, how you doing? I was like, I haven't heard from him in like 25 years. And it's just... it's so beautiful that people just say hi, you know. Some of those people, when Disney actually broke in the UK, they went to Florida, and a lot of the people moved their whole life to Florida. Well, at the time, I had a girlfriend that wasn't too happy about the idea of me jumping on a plane and going to Florida, so it never happened. Such is life. Um, but I don't regret anything. I've had a fantastic, enjoyable life. And that is today's drawing. It would be nice if it was some color in there, but the ink is too wet. But I do find it is rather beautiful, and I'm very pleased with today's drawing. I hope you are too. And I'm going to frame it now, just because, well, that's what we should do. And I hope you're drawing along. I hope you are. You know, it's always beautiful to know that people are actually drawing along with me. Let's see what kind of brush we've got. Ooh. Ooh, it's quite a nice one. I do love to know when people are drawing along with me. Just don't have to draw what I draw. Just draw. Just get your paper, get your pens, and just relax. Thank you very much for being here today with me. I do appreciate your time, and I do appreciate everybody that watches my channel. You are all really quite incredible people. I do love every one of you. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. It really does help me. It really does. You know, when you're sitting here talking to a camera all day, it's nice to know that there's some real people out there. And I hope there is. I hope there is. I hope you're all out there watching this video and enjoying today's drawing, because I really enjoyed today's drawing. Thank you very much for being with me. Thank you. And I appreciate all of your support, and a very, very, very nice memory of a kind of grown up Roger Rabbit type kind of, yeah. You probably would look like that now, Roger. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for sharing your time with me, and I will see you later on. Don't forget, I'm going for my charity walk later on, so you can also follow my adventures in the park. Just a nice stroll through the local English park, and I would love to hear from you all. So thank you very much, and I'll see you all again very, very, very soon. Bye-bye.